get moving and grooving. So Brad will be on the draw, Kevin on the play. No sideboarding to begin things. Now Brad has an Elvish Mystic to start. So we might have some time to get to the backup match.
Probably, yeah.
You got to spin a negative into a positive.
Yeah.
That means we get to watch more
matches. We get 2 matches
Yeah,
now.
see? There you go.
There you go.
That's just broadcasting 101, I think. It's unclear.
And now there's heightened tension in the 2 games we do get to watch.
That's very true as well. Can Mclenskey make the comeback after giving Brad Nelson a game?
And can Brad prevent disaster being handed a game?
And now he's facing down a Jace.
Which his deck is not well equipped to get off the table.
Things are getting interesting this morning. A Sylvan Caryatid, oh boy.
Missed a land drop.
Yep.
I don't know.
This is how it starts. Opponent drew a Wild Slash to kill the Mystic. He's going to start by activating Jace. Draw and discard. It's like Kevin found a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy. See what Kevin wants to discard here. He'll go with the basic plains. I have a feeling Wild Slash is going to be cast, and it is. Take care of the Elvish Mystic. Follow it up with a Flooded Strand, pass the turn back over to Nelson. Nelson will draw a card. Does have some expensive stuff in hand. That will really surprise you. Cards like Wishwood Elemental and Pelucranos in the grip. He did draw a land for the turn in Nykthos. The follow-up here is a Morph. Now Nelson will pass the turn back. Mclenskey's going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand. Basic plains probably on the way. Though we'll have to check his lands here. Yeah, this is an interesting situation for him. He discarded his basic plains off of Jace, and he's only playing 1 basic plains in his deck. So
hopefully he has a backup source.
For him, I hope he does. That could become a touch awkward. You check the graveyard here. There are a couple of cards over there from Mclenskey, so Jace could flip. Jace is super easy to flip, I think.
Yeah, it is. And a line of play that Kevin gets this turn is loot, flip Jace, flashback, Wild Slash, kill your Morph.
That's a good turn. He's going to discard Jeskai Ascendancy. That's going to flip this. So now Jace Telepath Unbound is here. Starts with a lot of counters. We'll see what else Mclenskey has to do this turn. White mana might be an issue now, given the discard with the Jace the previous turn.
Yeah, if he has left himself without white mana, and by discarding Jeskai Ascendancy on a relatively stable board, it would indicate that that's the case.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Kevin could be in some trouble here, even though Brad has stalled on lands.
He's going to tick that up. The follow-up now is Hordling Outburst. So 3 goblins on the way. And now Stoke the Flames. That's going to take care of the Morph. Now Stoke the Flames is an interesting one to flash back too.
Yeah.
Because now Jace is at 6, which means we can have flashback 2 turns in a row.
And again, Kevin is getting all of this off of a Merfolk Looter.
Yep.
It's not like he had to pay a huge cost.
Yeah. It's not like this deck had a ton to do on turn 2 anyway.
Right.
That's the thing you remember about Jeskai tokens. They would play Raise the Alarm or Dragon Fodder because they didn't really have anything else to do, and it is a token deck. Secret of the Way was found sometimes in Sun Number. Same thing can be said for Soulfire Grandmaster, but Jace seems like a premium 2-drop in this deck. This is going to go down. Let's see what the follow-up's going to be here. Yep, just going to flashback Hordling Outburst. Don't dislike that as a turn. Just trying to overwhelm Nelson right now. Does have a copy of Raising Alarm in hand, does Kevin, but yeah, discarding that plane looks to be a bit of an error because he is stuck with white cards in hand.
Yeah. But he is still doing fine for himself.
Yeah.
He's doing some serious work.
Nykthos, followed up by Wishwood Elemental. That's going to bring a Manifest along with it. Pass that turn back. There is a Stoke the Flames in the graveyard to flashback on Wishwood Elemental, and you kind of want to get that off of the table if you can. Battlefield Forge was the draw, so white mana appears to be here now. That's a good thing for Mclenskey. Might be time for a Jeskai Ascendancy. Yep.
We've seen this before.
Jace is going to get cashed in. Stoke the Flames is, yeah, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. He gets his draw discard too. This is a pretty good turn. Jeez. Stoke the Flames is going to have to be exiled because it was flashback, so Kevin will have to remove that from the graveyard. Now he gets to attack here for a bunch of damage.
And this is really an angle of attack that Brad's not that well suited to handle game one.
Not at all.
He does not have enchantment removal, nor is he very good at removing Jace from the table.
Here's 5 mana. Another Whisper Elemental. They'll bring another Manifest along with it. But Kevin might just be able to overpower this. See what he draws. See what his turn looks like. We know he's got to raise the alarm, so he's got at least one Jeskai Ascendancy activation.
And we've seen this before. Ascendancy with a board overwhelms almost everything. It's a part of the reason I've always been such an advocate for this deck, is when your Ascendancy is in play and you're not facing lethal, you're allowed to do your thing. Even your opponent's good draws rarely can keep up.
Yeah, the only reason I ever disliked this deck is because a lot of the time it felt like it started on turn 3.
And now you have Jace.
Yeah, you were so clogged on turn 3 because you had Rabble Master, you had Ascendancy, you had Hordling Outburst. You had so many things that you wanted to do that, you know, you could end up behind, especially if you're just on the draw, playing a normal game. But now you've got more things to do on turn 2. And taking a look at Mclenskey's deck list, he doesn't even play Rabble Master. He's going to play Raise the Alarm, draw discard, trigger the Ascendancy. Discard a copy of Mystic Monastery. Aha, I think we have a Treasure Cruise strategy. Brad is looking to concede here because he's already reaching for his lands. There is Treasure Cruise. No more, thank you, as Kevin Mclenskey is going to win game number 2 here over Brad Nelson. Jeskai Tokens ties things up against Green-Red Devotion. Even though Mclenskey had a bit of an error with the activation of Jace to start things off, able to find white mana, get a Sensei on the table, and run away with the game then.
And Jace did so much work.
Jace was insane that game.
There's, I counted a loot, a flashback of Hordling Outburst, and a flashback of Stoke the Flames. And that's what he got for 2 mana.
Yeah.
That was 2 mana.
For 2 mana, that's insane.
Yep.
Sideboards, we're going to go. I imagine the Devotion sideboard's pretty straightforward.
2 copies of Plummet, 2 copies of Gaia's Revenge, 2 copies of Nissa Worldwaker, 2 copies of Nylea's Disciple, 2 copies of Seismic Rupture, 2 copies of Roast, 3 copies of Shaman of the Forgotten Ways. This is the biorhythm effect that Brad wanted in the sideboard to have some game against decks like Turbo Fog. Here, I think the Seismic Ruptures are definitely going to be coming in to fight some of the tokens. And I think 2 copies of Roast can come in here as well to answer cards like Seeker of the Way and especially Jace.
Take a look at Mclenskey's sideboard here. He's got 3 copies of Sphinx's Tutelage, 2 Negates, 2 Valorous Stance, a Dragonlord Ojutai, 4 copies of Disdainful Stroke, 2 Anger of the Gods, and a Roast. You have to imagine those counters are coming in.
I think we might see a much deeper conversion than that. I could even see the Angers, Valorous Stance, Disdainful Stroke coming in, even maybe Dragonlord Ojutai, and becoming more of a control deck for the matchup.
Yeah, I like the options that he has available. The question, of course, is just what do you sideboard out? Because he's got a lot of good cards in his main deck, too.
Yeah, maybe he gets away from the token strategy is the way that he could pursue that. Okay. I'm not entirely sure, but that sort of setup seems attractive to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went for it.
We will take a look at the Season 3 schedule here on the Open Series. You'll see that we will be going to Richmond next weekend. We will follow that up with a Legacy Open in Washington, D.C., and then London, of course, our great Grand Prix. Details have been rolled out about that. You can find more information at starcitygames.com/GP London. Got a Modern Open Series in Charlotte, and then it's just for you. We're going to Jersey.
Yeah, the Season 3 Invitational in the greatest state in the Union, New Jersey. Standard and Legacy is the invitational format. It's a 2-day, $20,000 Standard Open Series event. End of August, 28th through 30th. What is noteworthy about that schedule is we are almost at the halfway point, and Season 3 is one of our longest seasons.
Yeah, I know. It's going by really fast. And, of course, if you do sign up for the main event of anything on Season 3, there is Tassiper, the Golden Paw, our Season 3 playmat. And the best part about it is that it's that 4-letter word again.
It's free.
Yeah.
All you got to do is sign up for the main event. It's not for the first X people who register. We don't send it out to you after the fact. It's just ready to go when you register for any of our Season 3 Opens.
I know that our 2 players in the feature entry right now, Kevin Mclenskey and Brad Nelson, they each have one of these playmats. So
at
come
least
on down.
one.
Yeah, at least one. It's very true. So we'll see if Mclenskey can come back and get this thing. Again, he did start things off in the game loss due to tardiness, but he definitely has a good game 1 matchup against Green Red Devotion. That's not even debatable. You just saw that in action.
The major vulnerability that Kevin has is to a fast Polukranos.
Yep.
Doesn't kill it very effectively, and it can do a lot to contain his token strategy. But Brad didn't have that sort of draw. Kevin had a lot of time to set up shop, and once Kevin does that, his deck's a lot more powerful than Brad's.
5 toughness is pretty tough.
Yeah.
For his deck to be 4 toughness, you know, he's got Stoke the Flame, so he can handle that, and he's got maybe some 2 spell plays that he can make, double Wild Slash, for example. But a early Polukranos is tough for him. That's for sure.
But he gets some better answers to it after sideboard.
Yeah.
He gets Disdainful Stroke. He gets Valorous Stance. Very clean answers there. And 2 copies of Anger of the Gods, though not an answer to Polukranos, may pin enough of Brad's mana where Polukranos is a lot less threatening.
That's how you have to try to go about beating this deck too, is by pinning the mana.
That's the easiest way to do it. Flyers help a lot too. The deck's blocking is mostly on the ground, although that's not a lock by any means. But attacking the mana is one of the better ways to do it. Or just having the good sweepers.
Yeah, Anger of the Gods is an interesting card in this match to me because you know, you're playing against a deck that has a lot of mana acceleration, but it's also a time-sensitive card. So I don't disagree with you. I think you should bring it in. I like that he's not bringing it in heavy numbers. Like if I had 4 Anger of the Gods in my sideboard, I would not want to bring in all 4 against this deck.
I agree. 2 is the right number. Now, if you want to be worried about decks like Goblins and Soldiers, then you want to be talking about 3 or 4 Anger of the Gods. But if the primary function is to fight Devotion, then I think going past 2 is probably a mistake. As you mentioned, it has moments of being very powerful, but there's no guarantee it's good in every single game. There are points of no return where Brad has enough mana and enough of the board where Anger of the Gods isn't going to do very much.
Nelson going to take a mulligan here. Looks like Mclenskey is going to keep. You know, it's what's interesting, and this certainly has happened with Matthew Tickle's deck, but you never know what card it's going to be that changes things. We always, as a community, when we take a look at spoilers, we take a look at the big flashy cards. What are the mythics? What are the rares? Maybe there's some busted uncommon, but as we've found so far this weekend, the reprinting of Nantuko Husk has been a big deal. For this particular deck, the Jeskai tokens, well, there is a really good card here in Jace that has certainly helped things out here, as we saw in the last game. For Brad, and not a lot of changes to Green Red Devotion, some number of Nissa and moving on with life, but you know, I always find it interesting, and I'm guilty of this, you always want to see what the mythics are, but there could be a common. You know, Fiery Impulse could make the red deck way better.
Well, and Sphinx's tutelage we've seen on camera several times is in Kevin's sideboard. Not totally sure for what, probably for control matchups, but you never know what it's going to be.
Brad going to keep. He'll start with the Temple of Abandon as game number 3 is underway. Take a look at that top card. We'll see where it goes. Card's going to stay on top as we'll head Mclenskey's way. See what his first turn yields. It'll be a Temple of Triumph. Top card will go to the bottom.
A big issue for Brad in the post-board games is he's still not well equipped to interact with enchantments.
Yep.
So if Jeskai Ascendancy sticks on a stable board, Kevin's got a big edge. There's no Reclamation Sages. There's nothing of that sort.
Yeah, that's been a kind of an underlying theme of this tournament. We've seen a lot more enchantments this weekend. Thopter Spy Network from Jeff Hoagland. Obviously, Jeskai Ascendancy in this matchup. We saw a Constellation deck a little bit earlier that Jerry Thompson played against that. He had some real difficulty getting enchantments off the board. I don't know if it's correct to say that people are skimping on enchantment hate, but given what we've seen this weekend, it might be time for a little more.
Yeah, well, the main deck enchantment removal card of choice has been Dromoka's Command, and we have not seen a lot of obs on aggro. I think there's still, more room for people's sideboards for cards like Reclamation Sage and so forth, but right now we don't really see it, and as a result, these decks that have been hubbed around enchantments, the Turbo Fog deck is one of those, certainly Jeskai tokens, they've been more potent than perhaps they would have been a month ago.
That's a raise the alarm from Mclenskey. He's got 2 soldiers out there. Brad Nelson just played a Rattleclaw Mystic. It's time to go beat downs. Just one. A shy guy. Feels like a Stoke the Flames. Maybe. Be a copy of Hordling Outburst.
Still Stoke
in
the
Stoke
Flames.
The Flames. See if he wants to cast an hour, maybe try to wait for something like Whisperwood Elemental.
The thing is, Brad's too savvy.
Yeah.
If you're not attacking Will and will raise the alarm tokens, it's pretty obvious what's going on. And I don't think Brad's going to commit any quality 4 toughness creatures to the board. He'll cast something like Polukranos if he can. If he has a second Whisperwood, that's one thing. But now you're seeing Genesis Hydra played in lieu of Whisperwood Elemental because it's just too obvious what's happening.
That's for 3. It's going to bring an Elvish Mystic along with it. That's probably a situation where you have to know who you're up against.
Yep. I mean, maybe Kevin's still happy just to have access to Stoke the Flames, but the idea that Brad's going to go land Whisperwood Elemental, that's, you know, maybe round 1 that's happening, but not at this stage.
Yeah. Not this round, not this opponent. Here come the beatdowns. Brad's going to take the 5. There's a Battlefield Forge. Does Mclenskey have a follow-up? Looks like a Dragon Fodder's on the way.
You may wonder what's up with the Dragon Fodder without 4 copies of Raise the Alarm in the deck. It's better at facilitating Stoke the Flames.
Yeah.
That comes up sometimes with Raise the Alarm tokens where you can't discount the red mana cost in the Convoke, and casting it on the cheap or on the free is a little more awkward.
We've seen it happen.
Yeah, comes up. Jeskai tokens does not have the smoothest mana. It's fine, but the mana is stretched a bit.
Nelson going to sacrifice the Wooded Foothills. There's a basic forest. Life total's 19 and 13 in favor of Mclenskey right now. And there's a Dragon Lord Atarka.
Pretty good spot for that.
I've seen worse spots. I think I just want to kill all the Goblin tokens. Yeah. Stoke the Flames, got to slow it down. Red Convoke. There's a copy of Valorous Stance. Nelson may have been a little concerned about a card like Disdainful Stroke, but I think you got to just kind of go for it there.
Yeah, the problem is that if his alternate play is Whisperwood Elemental, he also is beat by Disdainful Stroke, but at least this way he's a lot better against Valorous Stance.
Jeskai Ascendancy time. Here come the Knuckleheads. Nelson going to go down to 11. He'll untap. It's time to take a draw. The window is open. Mclenskey only has 1 land available. So if Nelson has another Dragonlord Ochitai, we know he's got a Dragonlord Atarka. We know he's got a Whisperwood Elemental in hand. He can play a big spell here and it'll resolve. Five mana. There is Whisperwood Elemental. He might have an attack here. With both Mystics, Elvish and Rattleclaw will come in. A Manifest here from Whisperwood. And we go to Mclenskey, who does have an active Jeskai Ascendancy. This is always scary.
I like Brad attacking. He does not want to wait all day against this deck.
He wants to try to get this over.
He definitely has an advantage on the board, but this game is not locked by any means. We have seen Ascendancy decks come back for some pretty tough spots.
Now, this isn't your hyper combo finish like Ivan Jen in Oakland last year, but
it can be close enough.
Yeah.
In a lot of spots.
Shivan Reef is the land. Just a passing of the turn. No spells cast either. If you're Brad, you're probably pretty happy about that. Take a look at that manifest, see if it's anything.
Remember, Kevin, with 1 main deck copy of Secure the Wastes, this would be a really good spot for it.
See what Nelson is up to this turn. Couple of cards in hand, Whisperwood Elemental, Manifest. He's getting aggressive with both of those. And the tough part is, a lot of the time you can just assume the Manifest is nothing, but there's no guarantee of that.
Yeah. Although it's hard to play around very much at this stage.
It is, it really is. You mentioned Secure the Waste. This might be it, and it is. That's going to trigger Ascendancy. A draw and discard. Secure the Waste will resolve. A bunch of soldiers are on the way. Now note, 4 of them are 1/1s. 2 of them are 2/2s.
The Ascendancy trigger resolves before Secure the Waste is done.
Correct.
So those are all 1/1s. But the tokens that were in there ahead of time, those are now 2/2s.
Yep. So that's important.
I think Kevin needs to make some effort to get Whisperwood Elemental off the table here. He needs to kind of go around what Brad's doing. He needs to go wide, and that's tough to do against Whisperwood Elemental. Whisperwood Elemental is also a not insignificant clock.
If I'm Kevin in this spot, looking at this board, I just kind of want to double block Whisperwood Elemental with the 2 2/2s, and I'm okay with just letting the manifest through.
That would be my block as well.
Looks like Brad may have something for blocks. See, no blocks have been declared yet. A little bit of pause in the action. Yeah, he's reaching. Let's see what we have here. Another Whisperwood Elemental being unmarked. Okay. Looks like Mclenskey may have said no blocks. Yeah. Well, this better be a good turn.
I'm trying to think of the craziest thing he could do. I guess it involves getting his tokens to 4/4s and casting Anger.
Okay.
That's good for a dub here. I don't know if that's even feasible, but
I think it starts with a cruise,
yeah.
and then you go from there. But it's unclear if he even has Treasure Cruise in his hand at this point.
I guess he also has, he's got 6 attackers versus 4 blockers. But Brad at 11, so with enough pumps he can get it done.
Yep.
It's asking a lot, but it's not impossible for him to win from this spot.
Another Ascendancy will help.
Ooh, someone just leaned back a little bit.
Now keep in mind, Stoke the Flames is not great in this situation because all the creatures are white. They're not red for Convoke.
I think with a second Ascendancy in play, even Wild Slash is a win from here.
Kill a creature. Gonna discard Disdainful Stroke.
His creatures become 4/4s, and he's got 6 attackers versus 3 blockers.
Yep. Everybody's coming in. Brad is gonna start by sacrificing Whisperwood Elemental. Gonna sacrifice again.
Very sharp play here.
What a surprise.
Brad knows from this spot how easily he can die here.
Yeah.
He's willing to cash in these Whisperwoods just to get an extra blocker.
Another Raise the Alarm. The thing is, those creatures become big and they do untap. Looks like Brad has blocked all the stuff.
So he's got 5 blockers on 6 attackers.
Yep. That's what it appears to be.
And Brad's going to get some manifests on the way back because of these Whisperwood triggers as well.
So he is going to get some triggers. I believe he's going to get 4 creatures. Yep, because 2 Whisperwoods died.
And now Kevin is empty-handed, though any spell is a huge draw.
All right, so 8 soldiers that are 1/1s. Nelson with 4 manifest creatures. Life totals 7-4 in favor of Nelson. Are there any good manifests out there to try to get the job done with? This game got mighty interesting.
Yeah. The problem is that Brad, in this spot, he is short on trampling threats. It's really only Dragon Lord or Tarko, which is very challenging to unmorph in this spot. I guess with Rattleclaw Mystics it could happen.
I like this attack because given Kevin's life total, he has to block everything.
Yep.
He can't say, I'm going to let 1 through and go to 2, because if he guesses wrong, then he's dead.
But he still needs to leave himself with enough tokens that if he draws a spell, he can still win the game.
Which he's able to do.
Assuming that Brad's going to have at least 1 blocker after combat here.
Because he's got 8 soldiers. He's got 8 soldiers on defense, so he can just say, all right, I'll block each creature, go down to 4 soldiers. You play. If Brad plays 2 blockers and Kevin draws a spell, his creatures become 3/3s. So I guess he's gonna need 3 creatures to get through.
Which maybe he has to run the risk then and allow one of these manifest tokens to come through. If you think Brad can generate 2 blockers, which is not too hard. 2-mana creatures, another Whisperwood Elemental.
Sure.
Not that challenging.
Maybe Genesis Hydra brings something along with it. Blocking here is tough.
It is, because I agree with your point in principle that you want to block everything because you're at 4 and anything could be a 4-power creature that kills you. But Kevin may not have enough to win on the way back, even if he draws a spell, if he makes 4 chump blocks. So he may have to roll the dice and hope one of the manifest tokens randomly is not a 4-power creature. And it looks like he's running that gambit.
Yep. So he's going to go down to 2. Brad will play a land. Here's 4 mana. Pelucranos, Rattleclaw Mystic. I guess if you're Brad, hope he doesn't draw a spell. That's a spell. Hordeling Outburst. Yep, that does it. Kevin Mclenskey is going to win this match here over Brad Nelson. 2 games to 1. After starting it off with a game loss, a timely top deck there of Hordeling Outburst will allow him to get the job done. And he moves on to 9-1.
And a risky but good block there.
Yep.
You needed 5 against 2 blockers.
Gave himself the best chance to win.
That was great. Congratulations to Kevin. Obviously, 8-1 against arguably, maybe not arguably, the world's best standard player. You start off with a game